lack of empathy, always blaming you, really stubborn, you're always walking on eggshells. Man, maybe your ex was a narcissist. That's what we're going to talk about right now. Alright guys, so thanks for watching the video. If you enjoy this, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. But what I'm going to talk to you about right now actually is something super freaking interesting. Because, you know, what I noticed in talking to, you know, some of the ladies that I go on dates with or have gone on dates with lately, I'm noticing that, like, they're all saying that their ex is a narcissist. And I'm like, I got curious. I was like, are that many people narcissists? And I actually ran my own little poll here. So I want to go over this with you guys, because this is really interesting. So I ran just a poll on Reddit. And then now this is not very formal, okay? Not formal at all. This is not any, like, you know what I'm saying? It's not a formal study or anything like that. I only got 85 responses. But you know what? I asked the question, do you believe your ex was a narcissist? What percentage of people do you think said yes? 27% of people said, was it 27%? Or, no, I'm sorry, 31%, 31.7%. About a third, about 1 in 3 people on this poll said yes, they believe their ex was a narcissist. You know, so that was striking to me, because I'm like, all right, 1 in 3 people, so are 1 in 3 people narcissistic? Now, I have a background in psychology. I'm not a psychologist, but I have a degree in psychology, so I learned a bit or two about personality disorders when I was in school. And, you know, I instinctually knew, I was like, that number is high. That's not realistic. So I looked it up, and according to, there was a study conducted by the National Epidemiological Survey on Alcohol and Related Conditions. I'm going to put the link below in the description so you guys can check it out. It's on nih.gov. I reviewed it. It looks like a very legitimate study. And they looked at, among other things, the prevalence of NPD, or what's called narcissistic personality disorder. And that means, you know, one of the questions they were asking is how many people actually have narcissistic personality disorder and therefore are a narcissist, quote unquote. And they concluded that the net percentage came out to about 6.2% of the sample study. So if you compare it to 6% of the population who may actually have clinical narcissism versus the 1 in 3 people that people are saying that their ex is a narcissist, there's a big disparity there, right? Okay, so people are saying, going around telling people, hey, maybe they're telling their friends or whatever, or you're going on a date with somebody and you're like, oh, my ex was a narcissist. No, I didn't say that, but one of the girls that I recently dated did actually say this, okay? And to me, I don't want to say it's a red flag, but it can be a red flag, because the thing about it is narcissism is a spectrum, okay? So that's what you got to realize, is that people can actually exhibit narcissistic traits or do narcissistic things, quote unquote, without actually having a clinical personality disorder. Because the reality is nobody's perfect, okay? Narcissism is rooted in what they call a deep sense of fragility, having a fragile ego. So that person ends up being a very deep level of insecurity, where they can't handle any type of normal conversation, or everything is, they really cannot take blame. They don't really have empathy. You know, it's on the same category as like a sociopath is in that same category of personality disorders with narcissism, right? So it's like, you know, it's deeper than just, oh, they were stubborn, or you felt like, you know, they were insecure, or this or that or whatever. It goes way beyond that. So before you go out there in the modern dating world or whatever, one of my advice to you, if you're a single person, is don't go around spewing about your exes. First of all, you shouldn't really focus on your exes when you're in dating people or whatever, but invariably, usually conversation will come up at least a little bit. But be careful before you start pointing the fingers or labeling people as narcissists, because chances are, statistically, if you say your ex is a narcissist, chances are you are incorrect. Chances are you're incorrect. Now, 6% means 6% of people are actually narcissists. If that's true, that means about 1 in 20 people actually are. So maybe you had the shitty luck of the draw, and maybe you were dating a narcissist. Okay, so it is possible. I'm not saying it's impossible that was the case. So, if you do your research and you look at, what would actually be all the signs of narcissism, is that person exhibiting all these signs or most of these different signs, then okay, maybe you were with a narcissist. But even so, the reality is, even if whether they were or they weren't, what you want to do, it's really not healthy to always blame the other person per se, right? So even if let's say worst case scenario, you were with somebody and they cheated on you or something, they did something really bad to you, or they were abusive to you. There's no excuse for that behavior. There's no excuse for it. But, a mature person can still be responsible for your own actions and your peace. Even if you feel like realistically, okay, maybe it was more, the problems were more, okay, it was more on their side because of XYZ. It was more on their side because whatever, you couldn't communicate with them, or they were abusive, or they were a cheater, or whatever. Okay, yeah, it was more on their side if they were just a shitty person, right? But it's good to take responsibility for your piece of it and self-reflect and self-actualize and look at, what was your part? Did you contribute? Okay, maybe if you step back now and you look at it and you're like, okay, maybe they weren't a narcissist, but they were a little stubborn, they were a little this, they were a little that, but what were you? What did you do? Were you honest? Were you truthful? Were you responsible? Were you respectful? Were you loving? Were you a good communicator? Were you a perfect person? Probably not, right? Everybody has their things for good or for worse. So, it's good, to leave things, first of all, leave things in the past. It is very good to do that. But, as you go through that process of leaving the past behind and thinking about, letting those things go, as you do that, it's good to say, okay, what did I learn from this? What can I do differently and or better in the future? And then you forgive that person. So it's not you don't want to hold on to stuff on the inside from your past, because that can cause you to have physical illness and all sorts of other problems, or problems with your future relationships. So it's good to have a healthy mindset, be forgiving to that person, letting that go, looking at your part, and then just letting it go and focusing on moving forward in your life, right? So yeah, that's it, guys. I mean, really, I just wanted to make the point that, maybe your ex is a narcissist, maybe they weren't, but people nowadays definitely, based on the information I have seen in these studies and based on the poll I ran, that people are grossly exaggerating how many of their exes are narcissists, and or they just don't understand what narcissism is, because not everybody studied psychology. Maybe they didn't actually look up the real definition and what, just because someone was a little bit of this or a little bit of that, before you label your ex as a narcissist, just realize that they're probably not. And, that's just something to keep in mind. And it's not good to go around slandering people, even if it's if somebody did something bad to you or whatever. It's really not good to just keep going around and talking crap about people or whatever, or your exes, whatever. Just forgive them, let it go, and move on with your life. You'll be a lot happier. And I will see you guys on the next video. Oh, by the way, if you enjoyed the video, make sure you do hit the like button. and the subscribe button. And I will talk to you guys soon.